Hi everyone! In this video we will simplify a rational expression with opposite factors. Simplify 25w squared minus 20w minus 45 all divided by negative 25w squared plus 81. The first thing we need to do is factor the numerator and denominator because unless there are factors with multiplication signs in between, we can't simplify anything. There are some who may be tempted to simplify by dividing the 25w squared and the 25w squared, but those are connected with a subtraction and addition sign, meaning that they're terms, not factors, so we can't cancel those out. So the first thing we're going to do is factor the numerator and the denominator. The numerator, we're going to look for a greatest common factor, and it looks like the only thing that will factor out of all of those is a 5. So let's factor out a 5, leaving us with 5w squared minus 4w minus 9. And in the denominator, there is not a greatest common factor. Oh, actually, let's go ahead and take out a negative 1. This will then make our number at the beginning of our binomial a positive. So we end up with positive 25w squared minus 81. We always want the first number of the any polynomial that we're factoring to be positive. It makes it much easier to factor. All right, now that we've factored out the greatest common factor, in the numerator, we're going to have to use the AC method. So I'm going to come down here and we'll do the AC method for the numerator. The A is 5 and the C is 9. 9 times 5 is 45. And all the factors of 45 are 1 and 45. Now that we have all the factors of 45, let's go look at the signs from the trinomial. This last sign is a negative. This means that the signs will be different for the factors. That means one will be positive and one will be negative, but we don't know yet which one. Looking at the middle sign, this tells us that the larger of the two factors will match this same sign. This means we can fill in our chart here with all of the larger numbers having a negative, and because they are going to be different, the smaller numbers will be positive. And now we need to find a combination that will give us the number negative 4. This is the last two. Positive 5 minus 9 is negative 4, and we can replace that in the trinomial. So we have 5w squared, replacing the 4 with plus 5w minus 9w minus 9 for the trinomial, and then we will factor this 4-term polynomial by grouping. So we'll group our first two and our last two and look for the greatest common factor of the first two. The greatest common factor I see is 5w, leaving us with w plus 1. And the greatest common factor of the second two is minus 9 or negative 9, leaving us with w plus 1. Now we look at our two very larger terms and see if there's something in common. And there is. The binomial w plus 1 is in common with both of them. And if we factor it out of both, we're left with 5w and minus 9. We've now factored the entire numerator, so we can rewrite this as, don't forget the 5 on the outside from the original greatest common factor. So we have a 5, and then we have w plus 1 and 5w minus 9. Now let's go ahead and factor the remaining denominator. I see I have a binomial, and the only way to factor a binomial is if it's a sum or difference of cubes or a difference of squares. And in this case, I can see that both of these are squares, which means it will follow a pattern. That pattern is the square root of the first and the square root of the second for the terms on both the two binomials, and then one will be positive and one will be negative. The square root of 25 is 5, and the square root of w squared is w. So the first two terms are 5w, and the last two terms will be the square root of 81, which is 9, and again, one will be positive and one will be negative. And don't forget, we already factored out the greatest common factor of -1. So we'll put that all into the denominator, -1 times 5w plus 9 and 5w minus 9. Now that we've factored everything, these are all factors, and now we can simplify. And if we find anything in common with the numerator and denominator, they'll cancel out. In this case, 5w minus 9 cancels, and nothing else does. So our answer is 5 times the quantity w plus 1 divided by 5w plus 9, and we still have a -1. And while it would be tempting to leave it in the denominator, that isn't simplified. So we can either put it in front of the fraction bar or in the numerator. And because when we're typing into a computer, it's typically more accepted to put it in the numerator because there's no way just to put it in front of the division sign or the fraction sign. So our answer is -5 times the quantity w plus 1 divided by 5w plus 9. And we're all done.